Today on the Therapy Dogs Australia podcast, Sam sits down with the incredibly knowledgeable Narelle Cooke, owner of CanineCeuticals, which is a premium human quality supplement range for dogs. Narelle is also an accredited clinical naturopath, nutritionist and herbalist. Our therapy dogs are working dogs, and as such, we need to know how to best support their mind and body during their lifetime. This is an episode you'll want to listen to again and again. Enjoy.
Okay, everybody. Hello. We are missing Miss Max today. She couldn't join us, but I'm very excited to speak to Narelle. Is it Dr. Narelle Cooke?
Oh, I wish. No,
okay.
Doctor.
I was going to say.
Just
Narelle.
Just Narelle. Yeah.
Narelle here, who is going to have a chat to us today. She's very graciously agreed because I really want to talk about the health stuff that affects therapy dogs and working with therapy dogs. So everyday stuff. So not necessarily, clinical stuff that, disease. And I mean, I guess some of it would be undiagnosed, but not that sort of stuff. We're going to talk about well-being is probably the better word for me to use. So we're going to talk about that stuff because over the years, I've definitely had the same things popping up over and over. And I really love going the more sort of natural way of dealing with stuff, especially with the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about. A lot of people don't realize just how much even diet impacts their dog's health and general appearance and presentation. And we're having this conversation during our courses all the time. We talk about diet and things like that. Narelle owns CanineCeuticals, and I've been using CanineCeuticals for a little while now, and it's really stoked to have you on, Narelle, to talk about some of the stuff that we can address using naturopathy. So do you want to give us a little bit of info about who you are, what you're doing, where are you, what's all that stuff behind you?
Yeah, my journey from where I started to where I am, it feels quite convoluted to me, but I always think, you just don't know what you really want to do when you're in high school. It's...
Oh, yeah.
So I originally did a Bachelor of Agricultural Science at Melbourne Uni and loved it. And then I worked as a research scientist on the back of that for about 10 years. And surprisingly, I went into agricultural science wanting to be an animal geneticist, but came out of it specializing in plant pathology. Of all things. So trying to reduce the diseases on the fruits and the vegetables that we consume. So it was really fascinating work, and I really enjoyed it. But then I call it my early midlife crisis. I went and did the NDTF course back, in 2004, 2003, 4. Mm-hmm. And then I became a full-time dog trainer for a few years, but pretty quickly realized that dog training needed to stay in the hobby category and not my full-time job. I didn't love it enough to be out in the weather every day, basically. So, and I miss the science. I love research. I love science, and I miss that a lot. So I went back. I ended up getting a job as a regulatory affairs associate with a large agrochemical company. Did that for a few years. Realized, this isn't hitting the spot either. And Glenn's really, my husband's really supportive of my addiction to study. And I said, do you mind if I just, do some part-time study while I'm still working? And he's like, sure. So I ended up doing 3 advanced diplomas concurrently just to get them done. So Western herbal medicine, nutritional medicine, and naturopathy. So I did all that, loved it, didn't know what I was going to do with it. Then we happened to move to Sydney, and I had the opportunity to further my addiction by doing a Bachelor of Health Science. And from that point, I opened my clinical practice as a human naturopath. And it's been nearly 10 years now that I've had my clinical practice going. So that's natural health and nutrition. And the odd thing is, it's crazy for me now, but that whole time, I've had dogs my whole life, I've been into natural health. I never once thought to apply it to my pets at all. Really? All my dogs were on kibble their whole lives. Never.
This is a safe space, Narelle. You can admit things like that. It's okay.
Thank you. Never thought to use supplements. I don't know why. it just didn't click. And even, you know, over the years in clinical practice, seeing my human clients, it would often come up because my clinic office is on the business side of Pet Resorts Australia, which is a boarding facility. You know, the conversation around animals would often come up, and then they'd say, hey, you know, my dog's got this gut issue or this skin issue. Is there anything you can recommend? And it just started happening more and more often. And I thought, there's something in this. So I went back and I did further study into animal health and nutrition through the College of Integrated Veterinary Therapies. And I highly recommend them. They're great. Still not with the idea of doing anything like with it, just more for my own, just, you know, want to know this information. So it wasn't until early 2020, so just as COVID was hitting, one of my French bulldogs had a severe spinal injury. So if anyone listens to my podcast, Natural Health for People and Pets, or the Canine Paradigm, you know, they might be familiar with Ladybug.
Little ladybug.
Yeah, our broken bug. So when that happened, you know, I went into full research mode for how best to support her body, and was just really disappointed and surprised at the lack of high quality, you know, supplements in the animal space. It's not that they're not out there, but it was just so hard for me to trust, you know, what I was seeing, particularly for a dog that's so compromised and so vulnerable. So I was just using all my human like practitioner only supplements on her, and I'm like, this is crazy. And then I'm like, oh, you know, see a need, fill a need. Maybe this is something I can actually do, is create a supplement range.
I feel like whenever I've looked for supplements, like I feel like the brands are really, like, I don't know these brands that, you know, like if you go into like your pet shop and look at the supplements, a lot of them, I don't know really that brand, and they're all a bit different, and kind of what's the consistency with it, you know. It has always been with the dog stuff. Like I've got horses as well. Horses is so much more organized with supplements, far out. But the dogs, it just seemed to be, it's really hard to find good quality and consistently available stuff too. I don't know if that's just an industry thing, but that's what I found. Yeah,
and I guess what bothered me is the pet supplement space is really poorly regulated. Like the standards are pretty low. And you know, that doesn't work for me. So I wanted to create something that was, you know, human grade. I knew it was like the highest quality ingredients. You know, I really believe in transparency, you know, for what's in a product. So all of that. So that's been what I've been doing 7 days a week since early 2020. It's all consuming. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. And, you know, I'm finally at the point where I can start to build a team around me, but it feels like the more I delegate, the busier I get still.
Right.
So that's sort of me in a nutshell. That's my journey.
So is your podcast Natural Health and Nutrition? Is that what it's called?
That's my clinic business. The podcast is under Natural Health. Oh my goodness, I nearly forgot. Natural Health for People and Pets.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already, guys, found Narelle, make sure you have a look at that. There's a recent episode that I listened to, and I was just really motivated to, it's just the way that the supplements were explained just makes so much sense. I was like, oh man, it's amazing what you think. Oh, why are we not? So the gist of that podcast, guys, was about whatever your dog is lacking or suffering with, that's what you add. So like
the organ
stuff. Like, it's just fascinating. Oh, go and listen to it, guys. Definitely.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we cover a bit of a nutrition segment in our therapy dog course because I think it's really important, but I'm not a nutritionist. So it's more so directing people to find, you know, here's some information on these choices, and here's, you know, I don't know if you've seen petfoodreviews.com.au, and you can put your food in there and find a bit out about it and things like that. And it's a tough space for us because I believe in raw feeding, and I genuinely know that that's the best diet for dogs, but there's a bit of concern with therapy dogs having raw fed diets and then interacting with people with immunosuppressed people. So it's a bit of we can't really recommend necessarily like exactly this is what you should feed your dog. But I think, I'd just let people make that decision for themselves. But I definitely think that supplements and things like that are something that we can definitely look into. But I just wanted to let people know that a lot of this stuff that we're gonna talk about, even if we're supplementing, we're probably still going to be fighting a bit of an uphill battle if we're not on a good quality base food. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's like, I've seen it so often over the years with human clients, like they just want a magic pill, but they don't want to change their diet. So they want,
can I eat macas every day and just take this vitamin and I'm not going to die?
Basically. So you, what's the saying? You can't outrun a bad diet, or you can't out exercise a bad diet, or something like that. But it's the same concept. Like you can't just take supplements, but when the foundation is fundamentally flawed. I mean, you'll get benefits, but you won't get, the full potential of what you could get otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. If you aren't able to feed a raw food diet, a balanced raw food diet, definitely still use supplements. But yeah, just be aware that you're going to have a different outcome than the dogs that are on an appropriate balanced raw food diet and adding supplements. Yeah, cool. Okay, so the things that people complain about are So I've been working with my dogs in therapy settings for 11 years. How old are you, dog? 10 and a half years, 11 years. And over that time, so I've got 2 Labradors and a Border Collie. And over that time, I've definitely noticed and experienced, I run a clinic as well. So we have so I've got other psychologists and counselors and stuff, and they're all dog assisted. So lots of dogs around in therapy spaces and things like that. So the courses that we run as well, we get feedback from, either current students or graduates or whatever. So this is where this information is coming from, right? Okay. So clients, students, participants, residents, whoever, interacting with therapy dogs. The main thing that we're looking for is development of human-animal bond. So that's our job, is to facilitate human-animal bond between our dog and the person that we're visiting or working with or whatever it might be. So these are all things that are the first lot of these things are things that are going to impact that. Bad breath. So people don't want to have dogs up close to them if they've got bad breath. And I would probably say, I'm sure there's dental stuff to do with that, but generally bad breath. Farting. So some dogs are big farters, and that's one of the ones that or being generally smelly. I know that a lot of people have really doggy smelling dogs and they just keep washing them, but that doesn't fix it. That's not what fixes that. I think there's some skin stuff that's involved in that. But farting, so gut stuff and things like that. And itching. And so itching is a real problem for licking and things like that. So like in the setting that I'm in, I'm a psychologist. So if there's a lot of licking or itching, and because sometimes that can be relentless, like dogs are just they just keep doing it. It's distracting. It's really distracting to what you're trying to achieve in your session, and it's distracting to the interaction that the client's trying to have with the dog. And in particular, my little Labrador Nala, she was licking her vulva just too much, more, just too much. And I think that that's something that people would probably generally just think that's just the dog. That dog just does that. But I put her on a probiotic and she's cut that down by 95%. She hardly ever does it.
Awesome. Yeah.
She likes if another dog does it. She is all about that, but she is less so obsessively doing that. But every other dog she meets tends to
Mm.
say hello to her that way. So she's very social. So she's
There you
having a
go.
good time. So I thought, and then I want to just give people a bit of an overview. I want to talk about joint health, stamina, and brain function as well. But these are some of the things that I think are really relevant to our industry. And I don't think we're having enough conversations in our industry about, like, we all love dogs and we all love therapy dogs. Love it. Oh, they're on TV, cute. Like, everyone loves it. But are we actually really loving these dogs? Like, if we're not taking care of even just these basic things that we can take care of, we actually can. There are people out there like you who have got lots of information for us about this stuff and more. So if I haven't mentioned your topic, guys, or something that's interesting to you, we'll give you Narelle's details because she's got a wealth of information. Anyway,
Yep.
Bad breath. What are we thinking?
Yeah, so the two main things that you'd want to consider are dental health and gut health. So to me, quite easy areas to work on. So with the dental health, I mean, I know a lot of people aren't comfortable feeding raw meaty bones, but if you're okay with that, that's a great place to start in terms of introducing, you know, once or twice a week, just a nice raw meaty bone that your dog can chew on to clean their teeth.
I was fine with that until Nala came along, who has not chewed anything since the day she was born. So she cannot be trusted. But you know those sticks that you mentioned in your podcast? What are they? The bell and bone ones?
Yeah, the bell and bone dental sticks. I was going to mention them.
She's right into them. She's right into them, and she's chewing them and eating them like safely. I'm amazed.
That's really good. I mean, I've got 3 Frenchies, and I mean, their mouth is just not designed to be chewing bones. So I don't even go there with them. Our Roddy and our Shepherd, yes, they get bones regularly, and they're both good chewers, luckily enough. But yeah, things like the bell and bone dental sticks, and you know, I do say this on my podcast when I talk about them, they do contain the active ingredients that actually get rid of plaque and tartar. So a lot of the dental sticks on the market, and I won't name names, but they're rubbish. Like, they're wheat and sugar and oil. Like, it's just, and artificial colors and flavors and things like that. So you really do need to turn the packs over when you're buying dental sticks and just see what's in them. But I absolutely love the bell and bone sticks, and I use them for my Frenchies. And the other thing is, I sell a product. It's by the brand Vet Activate. It's available on the CanineCeuticals website. It's called Dental Health, and it's that particular seaweed, the Ascophyllum nodosum.
I've heard about using seaweed stuff. Haven't looked into this.
So I use that for all my dogs every day. Even, you know, the big boys that get the bones, I still give them the dental health powder every day as well, just to keep their teeth in top condition. So
is that like you add it to your feed?
It's a powder.
Seaweed?
Yeah, just powdered up, like dried powdered seaweed.
Why does that help their teeth? Or is it a gut thing? Is it the teeth? Is it the gut?
Oh, you know what? I should know this to explain it really well. It's working from the inside out. Just the compounds it has and sort of the processes it triggers in the body just works to, I can't believe I can't explain it. It just works to reduce plaque and tartar in the mouth, but it's coming from, you know, once it's absorbed into the bloodstream, those compounds are coming out in the salivary capillaries into the mouth that way and doing the good work that way. So yeah, it is quite interesting, but there are studies, clinical trials done using that seaweed in dogs to show
I've heard that.
Significant benefits, and it's so easy. You know, it's an easy powder. The dogs love the taste of it. So that's definitely what I'd recommend.
So why would people? So guys, if you go like, oh, but I'm using whatever random dental stick I got from Coles, or wherever, or I'm using I tried to use like a water additive, like a mouthwash.
Okay.
That didn't work. So, you know, but yeah, I just want to really hone in on when we're saying these bell and bone dental sticks, if you're using a different type of dental stick, look at the ingredients on the label You don't have to go and buy Bell and Bone dental sticks, but go and look at the ingredients on the Bell and Bone sticks and compare them and see which ones just chemicals and which ones have got actual ingredients in them. You need to do that, or put your dental sticks into the petfoodreviews.com.au. I'm sure they're probably in there, because there is big problems with a lot of the popular dental sticks around. So if people are listening thinking, I feed dental sticks, they're not all the same.
No, and unfortunately, you know, when you're buying quality ingredients, it comes with a higher price. It's just unavoidable. So I know Ariane at Bell and Bone, you know, meat's the number one ingredient. All her ingredients are great. It's the same with my range. You know, I can't, you know, I'm not going to cut costs to cut quality. So that unfortunately comes with a price, but definitely worth it for our dog's health, particularly therapy dogs, if that is a barrier.
Absolutely. I really want to drive that home. If anyone is working with their dog, especially professionally, and a part of your income relies on these dogs are working, buy them the best stuff. You have to, you're not paying the dog, you know, but you can in looking after them properly. Like, you really do need to buy them the best stuff. And I know we're not all going to be, especially in this day and age, in a financial position to do, you know, splash in cash and all that sort of stuff. But I really do think people need to have that mindset of, well, the dog is working. So this isn't just your pet dog that you've left in the backyard and all it does is, you know, dig up your garden and cost you money. This isn't that kind of dog, bark at the neighbors all day. This isn't that kind of dog. These are, you know, dogs that are out there working, and visitation dogs. We always, when people contact us, we don't place dogs in facilities or anything, but we don't liaise that, but people contact us all the time. You know, do you have teams that will go here or there? But we put it out to our graduates, but I always warn the facility, what's your budget? Like, because you'll be paying this, you'll be paying these teams, and the teams are allowed to volunteer if they want to. It's unregulated. Like, we don't make anyone do anything, but I always prime the facility to understand that there'll be a cost recovery fee at least. And that is to pay for your dogs to have the proper support. So, you know, part of this well-being, like, we want them to have good, clean gear, you know, nice beds and, you know, physio and, you know, all these things that are required that cost money. That's the whole idea, is that the dogs are working. So they should be getting paid, quote unquote, in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess the other area when it comes to bad breath is gut health. So any sort of dysbiosis that's going on in the gut will absolutely smell. You know, you're going to get, well, you're more likely to get, you know, bad breath with bad gut health. So, you know, again, I would go back to diet initially with a client, but if that's not an option, then there are things we can do to support gut health and sort of bring it back up as best we can. Like you've mentioned, like prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes. One of my best sellers, the Gut Protect, is all of those things, but I also put in some chamomile and fennel because they are lovely for digestion, but they're very soothing to the gut and can reduce gas. So when we talk about gas, that's another sort of part of it. So yeah, just optimizing gut that way. And we often forget that stress has a huge impact on gut health. So if I've got any sort of chronic gut dogs, you know, I'm always asking the owner, you know, what's the stress like? And that may not be such a thing for therapy dogs because obviously, you know, they're well socialized and.
Well, it can be. So sometimes, you know, people lose focus, or the handlers are being put under a lot of pressure by their workplaces, things like that. And the dogs are being overworked and they're not being rested enough, or they haven't stuck to, we've got some policies and procedures about, you know, how long dogs should be working and stuff like that, but they might get pressured from somewhere else or, you know, try to do something different. And it does show. And the therapy dogs burn out. They do burn out.
Okay. Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
No.
So yeah, maybe we'll tie that into the excess farting, because I mean, it's normal to fart. It's normal for people. It's normal for dogs. Like, we'd die if we didn't.
Oh, well, I've never farted, so I don't know why I'm saying that.
I don't believe it. Yeah, like we literally would die if we didn't like release gas.
Yeah.
So, but it's not normal to be like really rotten egg, like stinky. So even if the dog is fighting a lot, it shouldn't be clearing the room, and that is a real indicator of, you know, poor gut health.
Yeah.
Diet. I'll always mention diet.
You have to though. Like
Yeah.
Same as, like you said, same as humans. Like check your diet. If you've got all these problems and you are feeding Woolworths brand whatever, you fix that first before you go and try and fix Band-Aid over the top of the stuff. But yeah, anyway, I could spend 5 hours talking about that.
But yeah, the same thing, you know, I'd be telling people to consider a prebiotic, probiotic, digestive enzyme product. A really simple thing that I tell a lot of people is to use herbal teas with their dogs. So we all understand the benefits of, you know, having a cup of maybe chamomile tea after dinner, which is great for digestion, or, you know, fennel tea or any of those sort of digestive teas. But they're great for dogs as well. So
I reckon so many people wouldn't know that. I didn't know that. I think I learnt that at your workshop. Did you mention that at the workshop?
I would have. Like one of my favorite ones is the Puka brand Relax. So it's great for stressful dogs, but it's also awesome for dogs prone to gastric upset or reflux or bloating or gas. It's got like marshmallow root and chamomile and fennel and a few other things in there. But it's just such an awesome blend, and it's so safe and it's so cheap.
What's the brand?
Puka, Puka. And you can now get it in, I know it's in my local Woolworths. I don't shop at Coles, so I don't know if it's in Coles, but they've got,
Awesome. That sounds like a good one to have in the cupboard, you know, like if the dog's get an upset tummy or something.
If you've only got one dog, you might just make up 1 cup per time, like as you would make up a cup for yourself, you know, add boiling water, let it steep, let it cool, and then keep it in the fridge. For a small dog, you might add 1 to 2 tablespoons to each meal. For a larger, like medium to large size dog, you might add up to like 1/4 cup to each meal. So yeah, that's a really simple place to start. If you've got a bit of a gassy dog, start with some herbal tea, and then, you know, if that's not strong enough, then you might move on to like a pre-probiotic digestive enzyme formula.
Yeah.
To sort of, yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay. All right. So to summarize, to go back. So for bad breath, we're looking at our gut health, but we've also got that seaweed stuff that we can try. If it's just plaque management, you know, like which every dog has to do. That's why a vet's always on to you about doing dentals.
Yeah. So absolutely. What are the stats? Like by 2 years of age, 80% of dogs have some form of dental disease, starting. So
but now my dog's 12 and a half, this Labrador, and I don't want to put him under a general. So I'm not going to get his teeth done. He's got lipomas I'd love to get cut off him, but I'm not going to put him under a general because I'm scared. So, you know, but I still need to manage his mouth.
Oh, you know what I did forget to mention for dental health is, well, firstly with the Bell and Bone, if you use the coupon code Ladybug, you'll get 20% off if you shop on their website. So that's awesome.
But there's spelt exactly how it sounds.
One word, Ladybug.
Yeah.
But also
I used that coupon when I got my dental sticks. I just ordered more yesterday.
Great. Yeah. It all helps, you know, everything we can save helps.
It does.
But there's an amazing holistic vet in Melbourne, and Dr. Nicole Rouse, and she's got a brand called Shy Tiger. It sort of complements her veterinary practice. But Shy Tiger, most of it's based on aromatherapy, so calming sprays and sort of lotions in that regard. But she's also got a doggy toothpaste and toothbrush and finger brush. So I actually bought the toothpaste and the toothbrush and the finger brush to use on my Roddy pup. I'm so busy, I just never got around to sort of getting him used to it. So I don't know, at 15 months, he's probably not going to...
My dogs and I having a bar of it.
Yeah. But that would be if you've got a pretty compliant dog.
Yeah.
Just doing that even a few times a week would be hugely beneficial.
Some dogs are right into it. So some people are just brushing their dog's teeth and their dogs are just right into it. And I'm like, my 3 dogs and none of them want a bar of that noise. So I don't know if it's something I've done or it's just them, but yeah.
But yeah, just putting another option out there for people.
Absolutely.
For what might work for them.
Yeah. Especially if you've got young dogs and you can get them used to it, like that's the time to do it. Don't be, well, you can try and some adult dogs will probably be fine with it. But yeah, I also, didn't do enough of our puppies and they just, not having it.
I have to say with the Shy Tiger, one of her, like I've got her Soothe and Skin Balm here. I bought a heap of them.
How do you spell Shy?
Just S for Sam, H for Harry, Y for yellow, and then Tiger.
Oh, Shy Tiger.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
One of my dog had some ear issues, so I was putting the balm on. But then I've been with the cold weather, my lips have been getting cracked. So I'm using the Shy Tiger dog animal balm, and it's awesome. All natural.
Well, that's what you can do when you buy good quality products. You can do stuff like that. So, guys, it's worth it.
Yeah, technically, I can't tell people they can take my products for legal reasons, but I had a client who literally emailed me saying she's tasted all of the supplements she's giving to her dog.
These are delicious. Well, they're human grade, aren't they, Narelle, your products?
100% human grade. They're the same ingredients that go in, like the manufacturer I use is a manufacturer for human supplements. So, the ingredients he's buying in, some will go into my tubs and be labeled for dogs and the rest will go into tubs and be labeled for humans. So it's exactly the same quality control and standard. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay. So we looked at the teeth themselves. We've looked at the gut. So we've got the Gut Protect supplement, but we're also addressing, guys, you need to look at your nutrition and teas as well. We can try teas to settle our guts down if we've got, farty dogs that are, and they do, like it's all fun and games. Like sometimes, have you ever, Narelle, seen your dog hear themselves fart?
Yes.
It's the greatest. So if that happens, and it happens when a therapy dog's visiting or working or something like that, it's not a big deal. Like it's usually funny and it breaks down, some barriers and stuff like that. But if it stinks, which I don't like, some dog owners probably don't realize that dogs can actually fart and it doesn't actually clear the room. Like it's just, I hardly even notice when my dogs fart. Like they're normally quiet farts that every now and then it'll be an audible one and they hear it and look at their bums and it's very funny. So, if they're doing stinky farts and they're repeatedly stinky farting, that's going to be not conducive. That's a barrier to people accessing the dog, accessing your therapy sessions, canine assisted stuff, things like that, because it's not pleasant. No one wants to be stuck in it. That's not funny anymore. That's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Itching.
This is huge. Like it's probably the biggest sort of customer inquiry that I get.
People contact you about all the time?
Yeah, every day, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, email, my dog's itching, what can I do? Yeah. And there's lots of contributing factors to that. There's lots of different angles that need to be considered. Is it coming from food? Is it coming from the environment? Is it a bit of both? So usually in the first instance, we just want to give relief to that itching. So we do sort of just want to try aim for symptom reduction. And that's where I'll recommend something like the PEA Plus, which has really great natural antihistamine activity in the body, anti-inflammatory, antihistamine, analgesic. So if there's any skin irritation, it can help soothe that, which can also help to stop the dog from sort of biting and licking at a certain area.
Does biting and licking and itching at stuff, does that perpetuate the itching for some causes, or is there always going to be an underlying, like is it like you just got to stop scratching a mozzie bite sometimes, or is it there's an underlying something?
Look, it'd be individual based on the dog.
What's happened. Yeah.
But for some dogs, it can become a learnt behaviour.
Mm.
It's that itchy, scratching sort of action.
The licking can be a stress thing too.
Yeah, and then the licking can create like yeast infections, which
Yeah.
can then exacerbate the itching and the scratching and
Yeah.
make the dog miserable. So yeah, I'll usually say, look, do the PEA plus for its antihistamine activity, but also add in something like the gut restore, because it's one, a lot of if it's due to an intolerance, a lot of that comes from poor gut health as well. So you want to improve the integrity of the gut, and the gut restore is great for that in the first instance. But I also love in the gut restore, there's ingredients like zinc and vitamin C and quercetin. So quercetin's also got, antihistamine activity. The zinc and the vitamin C are going to support the integrity of the skin, as well as the immune system, and sort of work at it from that angle. Products like Antinol Rapid, again, for the anti-inflammatory activity in the body, just to sort of reduce any like pro-inflammatory compounds that are being released that might be contributing to the itching. What else do I do? And then depending on the severity, usually that's where I start and say, look, that might take 4 to 8 weeks, doing all those things, diet changes plus those key supplementations. And then from there, depends how the dog responds. If we need to do more immune support, we'll do that. If it's coming from the environment, just simple topical approaches, such as if you can put in a t-shirt on your dog when they're out and about, or, just wiping them down with a damp cloth when they come inside from being outside.
If you guys are putting a t-shirt on your dog, can you please put on it, I have allergies? Just write that on the shirt. I just think that'd be really cute.
That would
just
be cute.
A little allergy dog, just like, I have allergies.
Hey, there you go. There's a business idea for you.
Adorable. What about sorry, keep going. Keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay. I'm sort of just thinking out loud. But with the paws, a lot of dogs lick at their paws, and that is often stuff that they're contacting in the environment. So having like a foot bath at the door, so just dipping your dog's feet in something like that and wiping them down can make a huge difference in just reducing that body burden of allergens, while we're working from the inside out as well.
I was going to ask about like those yeasty smelling feet, when they get that kind of stank to them. Is that a different for each dog as to what might cause that, or is there a fairly standard something that happens?
I mean, most yeasty paws are due to excessive licking, like just that saliva keeping the moisture in between the toes and things like that. And it doesn't take a lot for it to sort of take hold. And yeast is so notoriously hard to sort of eradicate once you've got a really yeasty dog. But I mean, antimicrobials, like the pure SB, there's a probiotic called Saccharomyces boulardii. And I've got a whole podcast on Saccharomyces boulardii, so you can find that and listen to it. But yeah, I would be looking at something like that for working against the yeast, and again, like the gut protect to support the immune system as well.
So it's a symptom of or a side effect of something else. Is that what you're saying? Like, so that something else has made them lick their feet, and then the yeast comes from that.
So if they've got, let's say they've got environmental allergen, like they're reacting to allergens in the environment, they're going to lick their feet, and the more they do that, the more likely that they are to get a yeast infection. So we really do need to treat the yeast initially to try and get rid of it, but then we need to increase the threshold of reactivity of the dog to environmental allergens, and we can do that by supporting gut health and immune health. And then just those topical like foot washes, you might put betadine in the water, just again to help with the infection side of it.
Just thinking about that smell of those feet, it is gross.
Yeah, and it takes time to sort of get on top of as well. So you've really got to be at it every day, unfortunately.
Hate that stuff. I'm like a once a week or once a fortnight kind of girl,
Yeah.
Okay, so which is what I love about supplements too, is because it's easy. I used to think it wasn't easy. I used to think it was more like, just adding all this stuff. Then I got horses and I was like, okay. Okay, your dogs are hardly any work at all. Horses are a nightmare.
I've actually don't have any experience with horses, so I've heard that by a few people, but yeah, it's not I've got no clue how hard horses are.
Really similar thing though, like you can make it too complicated, or you can, not complicated enough, really. So you got same thing. You got to go back to basics with the horses. Get them on the right food. So like something biologically appropriate for them too. So like I'll go into it obviously, but it's mostly like good grass or good grass hay. And if you need to supplement feed like a hard feed, like a extra bucket feed. We used to call it grain, but now we feed grain free. So same thing. And then you address, so get them right back down to the basics on their diet with nothing else, and then wait and see what is actually the problem. So, which is what similar to what we're saying about the dogs too, like get them on a proper diet, let them be on that biologically appropriate diet. So like horses have to have grass or hay all day, and then wait and see what is left over. So from that, like exactly same as the dogs. Don't have them on a terrible diet, and people do have horses on terrible diets and are adding 70 different supplements. Supplements are so expensive. They're adding 70 different supplements, and it's a nightmare. Like it's not unusual in a horse feed to put 5-6 different supplements in it.
Wow. Okay.
It's not unusual at all.
Yeah.
It's very rare that people aren't supplementing anything. Like it's,
There you go.
Yeah. I have to give calcium every day because we're on high oxalate grasses here. So they can't absorb the calcium properly. So they have to have calcium because of the environment that they live in. And then, just got one horse on foresight because she's a bit stiff, got a bit of stifle look, and one horse on a gut balancer called Equishore. And then that's it. But I started buying Brumbies because like more hardy. So mine are straight out of the wild. And then, so they're like really healthy.
Awesome. I should just say too, with diet, it doesn't have to be raw. Like, yes, I'm a raw food component proponent. I believe in raw food, but and all my dogs are on raw. But because I do help a lot of people with their dog's diet, I do understand not everyone wants to feed raw or is comfortable with feeding raw, but you can still have a really great species appropriate diet that's based on cooked foods. What we want is whole foods. So whether it's cooked or raw, we want to be as close to whole foods as possible. Yeah,
it's just hard to balance cooked food yourself. So you have to do some research into that. Like if you're going to cook it and make your own. So I don't make my own. I buy commercially prepared, balanced raw food so I don't have to make it. I used to try and make it and fed my dogs for years on an unbalanced food because I didn't know. Like back when I started, that you couldn't buy it. Like it wasn't. You couldn't buy it, but not readily anyway where I was. But I accidentally did that and then learned about it. I actually learned that from Sasha Parker's Facebook group. I was like, whoopsie.
And I highly recommend people join that group. It's Fresh Food Feeders for Dogs, Kibble Feeders Welcome. Like she's got so many amazing free resources in that page. Her and Brittany do a great job. So have a look at that. Look, I don't make my dog's food either. I don't have the time or the motivation to spend hours formulating and blending dog food. So it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but we've got Leica is a commercial cooked food option now, so that's fully balanced.
Oh, is it?
Yep. So it's lightly cooked, really good quality ingredients. The vet who's behind it, I know, and he's really like great integrity, and it's not just about the money; it's about the health. I didn't realize
that it was cooked.
Yeah, lightly cooked. So I recommend that a lot for people. Yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm not against kibble feeders at all. Like if you're gonna do that. Just make sure that you feeding the best possible kibble you can by doing your research. Because everyone's situation is different, Like I don't know what people's situations are like. And when COVID was happening, I could not physically buy the food that I needed to feed my dogs. So I had to go back to a high quality kibble and I was mixing it up. It's like we physically couldn't buy it. So, that's a really tough thing. And some people are in, areas where they can't get it or budget or whatever. So not having to go at anyone, just making sure that you understand that, there's going to be stuff that you need to do to get your dogs back to a baseline, and then find out what's left, like what's actually being caused by the food and then what's not,
Yeah, what's probably worth mentioning for people to consider, and this is a really easy way if you do have the time and the motivation to prepare your own food at home and you want to experiment with either a raw or cooked food diet, is to use a meal balancer, they're referred to. Yeah. So someone can just buy a heap of mince from the supermarket, add the required amount of this meal balancer powder. They're usually powders to the food, and it covers all bases. So it makes sure that meal has everything that your dog needs. And that's, you can't get much easier.
Than
that.
Yeah. Agreed. Also that Facebook page, that group got really full. I think the girls are only letting like waves. I think they're taking intakes of people in, but everyone who's done our courses, I give them the feeding guide that's out of that group.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Great. So you guys have all got that. So you guys have all been told before about Sasha Parker and Britt and that group. That feeding guide is what we're talking about. But it's great. She talks about kibble topping and all those things. Like it's great. So good. Definitely join the group. Just be aware that they were doing
might take
intakes.
a while.
Yeah. I think it just got really full on with, you can imagine answering people's questions and just,
don't private message the admins.
Don't do that, guys. Book a consult with them. Book their time and pay for it. Yeah. Or listen to podcasts. Learn lots for free. Okay, so we've touched on the itching, licking, general skin health. Is there something that we could add? I think some people's dogs have smelly skin. Is that, I know everything's got an internal sort of base to it as well, pretty much. There something we can give that like makes skin healthy and less smelly? Is that a thing?
Good diet. And
Narelle, is it important for dogs to be on a good diet?
Yes, it is. But our skin has its own microbiome, so it is really important to be supporting gut health as well, like just to keep the balance where it needs to be. It's a bit tricky, smelly skin. I would just be starting with a good probiotic, sort of prebiotic initially, and maybe like an Antinol Rapid for its anti-inflammatory sort of benefits to the skin. Yeah.
My dogs I put my old dog on Antinol, and then I put them all on it. It's great. I've been on it for about 6 months now. Actually, I got it from your workshop. Do you know what though? You know how we got those little bags from Narelle's workshop in Brisbane in, what was that, late last year?
Yeah.
Was that late last year? And we got these little gift bags, and there was Antinol in it. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard about Antinol. So I started trying it, and it was like a little 60 capsules thing, right? Like a proper, not like just a sample of like 5 capsules. It was a proper little jar of it. And I started giving it to my old dog because this is him. Is old boy. And I'm like, oh yeah, probably he hadn't had any problems with his joints, but I was like, it's probably a good idea. And I'm like, oh yeah, seems good. And then my naughty little Labrador stole the bottle and ate all the Antinol and just destroyed it. And I was so pissed off because it was free.
Yeah.
I liked it more. Then I had to buy it. I was like, oh, this dog.
Yeah. It is completely, if your dog does eat a jar of Antinol, it is safe.
Then I was like, great. But yeah, it's just what is it? It's not fish oil. It's like a mussel. Is it a greenlit mussel?
Greenlit mussel and krill combined.
Yeah.
But the other reason that I have all my dogs on Antinol as a really high quality omega-3 source is because our dog's diet, if you are feeding a kibble, it will be disproportionately high in omega-6 fats. And, we know in the human research really clearly that, too much omega-6 to omega-3 has a very pro-inflammatory effect in the body and can contribute to a lot of chronic disease development. So I will always give my dogs an omega-3 source.
Yeah. So it's a good one to start with anyway, even if you've got no problems.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing is there's, evidence to show that DHA, so DHA is one of the main active constituents in omega-3. Well, it's sort of at the end of the biochemical chain of omega-3 in the body. So DHA has been shown to improve trainability and cognition and neurological development in puppies. So, yeah, as soon as I get a puppy, they're on Antinol. It's great for, we're going to talk about general health and well-being. It's great for just supporting general health and well-being, particularly for dogs on a kibble diet. And then once they get to their senior years, it's going to support joint health and mobility in that way as well. So, really love it.
Yeah, that's why I put all the dogs on it too, because I was like, I was only planning on putting the older dog on it, but then I was like, the more I learned about it, I was like, they should really all just be on this,
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Okay, we've talked about bad breath, itching, farts, smelly dogs, skin, stuff like that. We're going to talk about general well-being. So the reason I want to talk about joint health and brain function is because being a therapy dog, if we're going to ask our dog to work for us and with us, that's the work is mentally and physically draining. So it's not just a physical, and people might think like, oh, but the dogs, like they sit around most of the time. And that is true. The things that the dogs are doing that puts extra load on them includes things like going up and down flights of stairs. Like I've got stairs at my clinic and my dogs have to go for wee walks. So, we're up and down the flight of stairs like 6 times a day, if not more. Depending, some of my clients want to take the dogs for a walk as well, so which the dogs love that, but it is an extra load on them that they're not doing when they're at home. They just sleep all day.
Yeah.
Things like stairs, jumping up and down off of couches as well, to sit with people. Play, if they're doing lots of play, people playing fetch and stuff like that, there is a likelihood if your dog is toy motivated, there's a likelihood that that's being utilized as an intervention. So the dog is probably doing more chase and stop and turn than what they would be doing if you left them at home instead of taking them to work with you. Things like tricks and stuff like that, like all our little kid clients, we just have to put on a show sometimes to get them engaged in their therapy. Like the kids that come and see me, they're there for psychology, so sometimes they don't want to be there / most of the time. So so as an engagement tool, like we get the dogs doing their tricks and stuff like that. I got a lot of clients that the dogs don't have to quote unquote work very hard for, but there are some client groups that they do have to work quite hard. I'll do things like puzzle toys. So, the ones you put treats in and stuff like that, which is mental stimulation. Behaving themselves, being not at liberty. So the dogs are off lead. My dogs are off lead at work, but they're not at liberty. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So there's a standard of behavior that's expected while we're at the clinic. Definitely. I've got a home clinic as well. She's a bit of a looser ship here. But certainly at our, we got a multi-clinician, multi-dog clinic. So, it's definitely a standard of behavior that's different there. Sometimes like the impulse control as well. So we've got kids that are playing with toys and trying to get dogs to play with toys, and we're not supposed to be doing that right now. So we've asked dogs to disengage from the play, and they're having to use all their impulse control.
Wow.
To do that. Yeah. Yep. Otherwise we got little kids that are dysregulated and throwing stuff around and running around and dysregulating the dogs, and it's just chaos. Like, it's fine to do that sort of stuff if that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing, is we're having some play or a movement break or whatever. But a lot of the time it'll be that's not what we're doing, and that's, if we do engage in that, then this little person's just going to further dysregulate. And so we actually need to bring the dog's regulation down, and keep ours down and bring the dogs down. And then the kid will come down with us,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot involved that I didn't realize physically. So yeah, absolutely, joint support across, the whole, age, like lifespan would be just fundamental. I really love collagen as a really safe everyday supplement for dogs, because it's, it's not just, it's supporting the ligaments and the cartilage and, creating greater stability for those joints. And you can start that. My next podcast is actually going to be on joint supplements. So I haven't delved deep into the research yet to really comment well here and now, but I do
When
know,
can we expect that podcast, Narelle? Is it going to be like...
hopefully in the next 4 weeks.
Because I think there might have been a bit gap between the last couple.
Yes, 6 months, I think it was.
So it's not 6 months away for this joint one, though.
No, seriously, my goal is always to do one a month, but I am so busy, and because I do really want to dive into the research, I don't want to just get on a podcast and give my opinion superficially. I want people to really understand, why something is the case, and that takes time.
It does. And I feel for you in that, because that's my least favorite thing to do, is do all that reading. But just a little encouragement, and I know you would already know this, but it is so handy having covered topics in podcasts about the stuff that we get asked all the time. It cuts my work down, because I just refer people back to that episode. It is honestly saving me so much time having a podcast. So now, this podcast is going to become part of our course, and it'll be like, I won't have to have this conversation again and again and again and again and again, like I have been for the last 7 or 8 whatever years we've been doing Therapy Dogs Australia. It's just so worth it. So be encouraged, but I don't have to do the research.
I actually love the research. If I could just sit and read papers all day, I would be in heaven.
It's my worst nightmare.
But I mean, off the top of my head, the research around glucosamine and chondroitin is pretty weak. That's everyone's go-to supplement. So I'm going to talk about that and potentially debunk some beliefs around chondroitin and glucosamine. But yeah, let me do the research first before I put my foot in it.
If you're listening to this now, just go and listen to Narelle's her podcast on the joint thing, just in case she's really taken a step back with that major claim that she's just made. Glucosamine.com have called Narelle, and
I know. But yeah, let me look into it, and I will let you know what the situation is in my next podcast. But yeah, for any joint health, you know, something like a collagen is really great. Again, antinolol rapid anti-inflammatory action, really great for supporting joint health. If there's any pain, you know, the PEA Plus is particularly indicated for senior dogs that have any mobility issues, particularly nerve compression issues as well. So, you know, I see that a lot with Frenchies or any sort of those brucky breeds.
Is that like a skeletal issue?
Yeah, most of them, their spines, you know, I love Frenchies, but genetically and like physically, they're just a mess. So
I've heard them described as incompatible with life.
Yeah, if you're going to have a Frenchie, you need insurance. Like, do not skimp on pet insurance.
Do they still insure Frenchies?
Get in early. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm surprised, but
whatever insurance company that is going to go broke.
Well, I must say, I was so fortunate with Ladybug. She didn't have insurance for about the first 3 years of her life. And I'm like, oh, I should probably get insurance for her. And I was one day out of the 30-day, that initial 30-day withholding, well, it's not withholding period, first waiting period. I was one day out of it when she had a spinal injury. And let me tell you,
oh my God,
that saved us.
Oh my God,
more money than I'm going to admit.
Major money. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so worth every cent.
Yeah, once you get a decent payout, I got a metal plate in a dog's leg. Cost me $150 excess.
Yeah.
The surgery was like $5,500 or something like that. Cost me $150.
Yeah. So, no, certainly. Yeah, I would never not have. I mean, some of my dogs have been insured, and I'm never going to get that money back.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And when you look at little life hack, don't look at what you're paying for it. Just try and turn away, because I am paying a small fortune for 3 dogs and a cat on pet insurance, but I've claimed, like it is it's one of those things. Just like any of my insurance policies, I must have about 100 insurance policies for all the things that you have to insure. It's just crazy. Anyway.
I'm with you there. Like I was thinking about the other day, just how many insurances I have and how much
especially because we've got professional insurances too, right? Like all those sorts of things, like business insurances and all these insurances.
I know. And I mean, I've got all my clinical practice insurances, but now with CanineCeuticals, there's a whole nother set of insurances for that.
Yeah. There should just be one fee that you pay, because there's probably thousands of dollars that we're paying. We just have one fee that we pay, and it just goes into the SAM insurance fund. And whatever I do,
you're covered.
Just comes out there.
It's a good idea. All right, back onto joint health. What else could we do? Look, they're the main things. I was going to say that, but
it's true though. Diet.
Well, it is true, because every cell in our body is impacted by the nutrients that we put into our bodies. So we're only as healthy as our cells are, and that is diet. So and tissues turn over and regenerate. So the better our diets, or if you're feeding a bad diet and those tissues are turning over, that's not good in terms of chronic disease development. But it also gives us hope that when we do make positive changes in our diets, that there can be benefits. Like it's not all is not lost. Yeah.
You know what's fun about horses is you can see their diet change as their feet grow. So as their hooves grow, you will actually see a better quality. This happens with the Brumbies because they come out of the wild and they're a pretty bad diet out there. And you get them on a good diet, and their new growth of their feet is beautiful. And it gets like halfway down, and they've got like a half beautiful foot, and then just a half like wonky foot. And over time, so you do like corrective, good trimming and maintenance and stuff, and over time they get their feet change shape, and what that does is it changes the angles of their legs, which changes where they've been compensating. So like it's actually, like they say, no hoof, no horse. Like it's a whole, that's where it all starts. But it's cool because you can see it happening.
Yeah.
I really feel like with a healthy dog, it's less easy to see, except for these little things that some of the things we talked about. So like good proper poo, like a good poo out of a dog is one of the only ways to tell if the dog is healthy. But I think the smelliness too, like I think, like when dogs have got more of a neutral smell to them, they don't have to smell great.
Just on that. So, I mean, that would be huge for a therapy dog if they had diarrhea or
is
any issues.
The worst, Narelle.
Yeah.
If you had a dog that, so I could be like leaving for work and go out here, and if the dog does a runny poo, they're straight back in swap dogs. Swap dog. I've got multiple dogs, so I can do that. But it is a nightmare. It's happened to me more than one, I'd say 5 over the last, and I've worked with 5 or 6 different dogs, 5 different dogs. sometimes you don't know it's going to happen. So the dog has picked something up somewhere, like whatever they've picked up. And so this old lab here, he would go like, because he had intolerances. So he had gut stuff when he was younger. That's how I got onto raw feeding, is because he had gut stuff. And I thought he was allergic to beef. But I've since come to understand what allergy means. And it's not that. Which is probably why when I told a heap of vets and people back in the day that my dog's allergic to beef, and they're like, no, it's not. And I was like, you're an idiot. Yes, it is. They're probably like, you're an idiot. Anyway, what I meant was intolerant. So, because he used to get diarrhea. He had diarrhea heaps when he was a puppy. And you'd give him like anything. You came across anything beef, like half a sausage or something, you know, they've had barbecue, half sausage, he'd just get explosive diarrhea the rest of the day. But he used to do this thing where he'd like, come and if you'd be in a session with someone. So like the type of job I do, I'm in private practice. So someone books a session, it's a 15-minute long session and they're paying for it. So if your dog just decides that it's got to go to the toilet right now in the middle of a session, it is a huge drama. It's a big deal. And sometimes the dogs, they don't have like, so my border collie like will dance around a bit. And I'm like, look, him and this one have got, I don't think Nala's ever had an accident, but they've got these cues that it's like, now, you've got to go now. And back in the early days, I'd be like, I can't, I'm in the middle of someone's session like this. I can't take you to the toilet right now. These days, if it was to ever happen again, you go. Because when they have explosive diarrhea inside in someone's psychology session, when they're there talking about whatever or learning about whatever or whatever, it stinks. Diarrhea always stinks. It's so bad. And we're on carpet. It's very hard to clean it up. And most of the people done our courses have heard these stories, because it's literally, it's horrible. It's so horrifying. And you're worried about the dog as well, because you're like, oh God, like what's wrong with the dog? You know, what have they eaten? That's something. And you're trying to clear out this diarrhea. So we tell everyone to keep a cleaning kit with you, or everywhere you go, everywhere you take your dog, take a cleaning kit. Because one thing that makes it easier to deal with is that you can clean it up. So you don't feel like, oh, my dog just did a nice poo. Can someone please clean this up? And the other thing is, so, you know, puppy wee pads.
Yeah. Yep.
Got to have puppy wee pads in your thing, because that's the easiest thing to pick diarrhea up with, because it's plastic and big, and you can like.
That's a really good suggestion. I like that.
You got it because it's got to get, so you got to have plastic bags, because you got to get it in the plastic really fast, like try and catch it, like it's, because the longer the smell's there, because we're inside, like the longer the smell's there, it just causes complete. And this is why now, like if the dogs do their funny little tell, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'll be back in a minute, you know. Or like I used to we have virtual admin now, but I used to have a admin assistant that I could go like, can you please take the dog outside? But the reason that, because when a dog does diarrhea in the middle of someone's session, the session's over anyway. It's over. Like, because now
so it's quicker to toilet the dog than
it's actually quicker for me to go, I'm so sorry. Like, and even if it takes 10 minutes for the dog, for me to be sure that they're done, I can go 10 minutes over time, or, you know, depending on what type of session it is, you can make a decision. You can make a clinical decision about what you should do now, but diarrhea in the session is not the answer ever. It's so bad. I've got a window in my clinic. It's like an old building, and you like push the window out. There have been multiple occasions. I've been at that clinic. I think we just had our 8th or 9th birthday. I've lost count, but everything over COVID, I don't even know. I'm like, what? But anyway, multiple times. So they're out the back of that window, there's like an alleyway, and multiple times I've had to quickly grab a diarrhea, tie up a bag, and I just throw it out the window. I have to go out there and get it. Like, it's the worst. Anyway, that's just a very long-winded, but yeah, it is a major problem. So if anyone's listening hasn't trained a dog yet, and you've got a dog that's got a sensitive tummy, it will not be a therapy dog. It will not be. If that's a problem for your dog, No, it will not be.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So just for people who've heard the Ladybug podcast, they'll know this already as well, but with her spinal injury, she does have mild fecal and urinary incontinence. Like she's pretty good, but she can't control when it comes out, like when she's going to poo. It's sort of, if it's coming, it's coming, like that sort of thing. And because of her spinal injury, she's confined now to a carpeted area of the house. So for us,
because of the flooring, so she doesn't slip and stuff.
Yeah. So for her quality of life, and I mean, if you've got a dog in that situation that does have regular diarrhea, I mean, we probably couldn't manage that, and she probably would have been put down. But that was the motivator. That was the actual motivating force behind me creating Gut Protect. So the Gut Protect literally is designed to firm up stools and like not just create good gut health, but create, like, I call them the perfect poos. And Ladybug literally has perfect poos, and and it's not that a dog won't get loose stools on Gut Protect, but it's nearly 3 years. Oh, it is 3 years now since she had a spinal injury, and she has not had a soft, sticky or loose stool in 3 years. Touch wood. So,
that in it, yeah. Can she hear you? That in of itself is enough of a, you know, if anyone's got a dog, so like, sloppier poos and stuff like that, that in of itself, trust me, guys, it's worth doing something about. It is worth it. I've only had it a handful of times over 11 whatever years. I work with a dog every single day, so I've got multiple dogs, so we rotate them. That's why I can work full time with dogs. And over that time, and I don't know how many days that is over that time, but it's only happened to me, it'd be 10 times or less, but it's the worst. And I've got dogs that have perfect poos, you know, like on the day-to-day occasion. Sometimes, just if you can avoid it, guys, avoid it.
Yeah, so that's where being proactive with gut health and diet becomes really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So from the workshop, before your workshop in Brisbane, I didn't know what MCT was.
Yep.
And you had all this information about like senior dog care and stuff, and I was just like, oh my God, like I really went for the like nutrition because I am interested in that stuff, you know. And I think I said to you, because we need to be educating people. But I'm not, you know, just trying to direct people. Actually, and we will talk about that if you remind me. Narelle's got online courses on her website that we need to make sure people know about. Are they still on it?
No. So I've taken them down because I want to rehash them and rebrand them under the CanineCeuticals branding, and then they'll go back on that website.
Fantastic. Well, let us know when they're back on there.
Yep.
But you got blogs and stuff on there too, hey? Are they all?
Yeah, lots of blogs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Because I remember looking at that from anyway. So if you go to the CanineCeuticals website, the supplements and stuff are organized into like categories as well. Like you can look at the category. So you can look at like senior dog stuff. And I have a senior dog who is my 12-and-a-half-year-old Labrador, Sunny, who has been a therapy dog since he was 18 months old and has been the reason that I've done anything that I've ever done. And so it's very important to me that he's semi-retired now, but it's very important to me that he is healthy in this, like well supported. He's worked a long, hard career. Shouldn't say hard career, a long career. He's loved it. He's a Labrador. And I want him to be supported into his senior life. And then Narelle talked about MCT, which I'll let you explain, but it's to support, one of the things it does is support their cognitive function.
Yeah, so there's lots of research in the human sort of dementia space around MCT, which I don't know. I just know it exists. But there's some studies in animals as well, including dogs. So MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides, and mostly comes from extracted from coconut oil. So it's just sort of a part of coconut oil. So coconut oil is different to MCT oil. So MCT oil comes out of coconut oil.
Is it like refined? Like, is that why we used to always, because I used to give my dogs coconut oil. Is that why I used to do that? I don't know.
No. So coconut oil should be sort of organic and unrefined as a sort of a supplement to our diet or our dog's diet. But you can extract certain compounds from coconut oil, which are the more concentrated MCT oils. Gee, I'm doing a bad job today of explaining things. It's a Friday afternoon, everyone.
It is. It is.
But the MCT oil is a superior fuel for the brain. And I tend to recommend it a lot for dogs with epilepsy. There's some great research for it reducing seizure frequency in people and dogs. So that's great. But there's also good research around it for senior dogs, as you mentioned, for reducing what's called canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome. And, that as dogs age, like we do, some people are more prone to dementia than others, and some dogs are more prone to dementia than others. But giving some MCT oil in their diet has been shown to significantly reduce symptoms of cognitive decline and improve behavior in senior dogs. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you give it? It's so safe and it's so just gentle. I mean, you don't want to go too high too quickly because it's an oil, so we don't want to create diarrhea. But it's a really lovely product. So I sell that under the Vet Activate brand, Brain Fuel, it's called.
Yeah,
so people can read more about the details of it on the website.
So I started Sunny on that pretty much straight away, and then that was out of stock for a bit, and I put him. I started using lion's mane. So what's lion's mane? Is it a cognitive thing too, or is it?
Yeah, it is. It's a mushroom.
I've been seeing some Instagram reels of people selling lion's mane, like for people to take, and they talk about like getting like activated in the morning, like like it's like turn your brain on stuff.
Yeah, most of the research is around its neurological benefits. So lion's mane has been shown to reduce neurodegeneration. It supports sort of the myelin sheath around nerves.
Which is the coating around the cells to make them travel properly.
Yeah, it allows that electrical signal to pass across cells, so for communication. So again, with Ladybug, with her spinal injury, because her nervous system was so compromised, she's been on lion's mane for the majority of that time. I'm not giving it to her at the moment, but that's more just me forgetting to give it to her, and because she's doing so well now, it's not as important. But yeah, great for another one that's great for any spinal injuries or nerve injuries or cognitive issues.
So remember that, guys. So senior is quite young to what we think it is. So lots of dogs, depending on the size of the dog, they become senior quite young. So, well, in my mind, what I would think is, you wouldn't think that they're considered senior so young. But I really wanted to support Sunny. I'm scared of him getting dementia. So the reason I'm scared of dementia is because he's physically very fit. So I'm not worried. I haven't been worried about his body breaking down, which is and then I put him on the Antinol because we got it for free. And then when Nala ate it, I was like, you're a dog, Nala. Like, and then I had to buy it because I was like annoyed about that. And now I love it. So, he's physically really fit. So I put him, that's just my main thing is I'm like, if his mind goes, and I think his hearing might be a bit, I just can't tell if he's just not listening to me sometimes, or he's like, can't hear me,
The other really easy thing people can do to support cognition in senior dogs is add in some brightly coloured fruits and veggies to their kibble or whatever you're feeding.
Yep.
There is research around just adding brightly coloured fruits and veggies to a standard kibble diet for improving cognition, because of all the antioxidants and the phytonutrients and all those amazing compounds in them. So if you've got leftover veggies, put them in your dog's bowl as long as they're safe, like they're not onion and leeks and things like that. Blueberries are awesome. So, throw a few blueberries in your dog's bowl, just buy them frozen, and it's cheaper and easier that way. But yeah, little.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I love supplements because it's what I do. But I will always support it, like we said at the beginning, with dietary additions as well. And you can be on a kibble diet and add in, lots of great additions. Eggs, the choline in eggs is great for cellular health and nervous system health. Yeah.
He eats eggs every day because we have chickens. Sometimes he gets unauthorized eggs.
I can imagine.
Of the chicken coop.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, and then he drops it and then it breaks anyway. And I go, just eat it.
He's got it all figured out.
Just eat the egg. Are there any left in there? And I've just put him on the beef liver as well. And I can't remember why I did that, but it was from listening to the podcast. But all the benefits that, like, there was just all these benefits, and I was just like, he's got to go on this beef liver as well. Like, so now he's on Antinol, currently lion's mane, but it would be lion's mane or brain fuel, and the beef liver, just to try. And I think it was about like his blood and energy or joints and muscles, and was it so like a bit of an everything? Was it everything?
Yeah, look, beef liver and beef spleen are so packed with nutrition that covers pretty much every aspect of health. But it reminds me, you mentioned stamina earlier, and in the podcast, I talk about a study that was done in rats many decades ago now, where they were trying to figure out if the stamina boosting properties of freeze-dried beef liver, was it just due to the B vitamins, giving a boost of energy, because, we take B vitamins to support energy. So they had these 3 groups of rats. One group got nothing, one group got just pure B vitamins, and one group got the powdered beef liver. Yeah. And then they subjected them to a stress test, which was putting them in a barrel of water and seeing
I remember this now.
seeing how long they would swim for. And that's actually a really standard test, unfortunately.
It's like a beep test for rats, but with life or death.
But what was amazing is the rats that got nothing swam for, let's say, an average of 13 minutes. The rats that got the B vitamins swam for like 13 and a half minutes. Like, don't quote me on that. Listen to the podcast. But the rats that got the beef liver, the majority of those were still swimming after 2 hours. So they stopped the test because they were still swimming. And that was the only difference, the beef liver.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So, if you've got a working dog, a sporting dog, a therapy dog, like any dog that has to work, I think it's a great addition. So listen to the podcast to learn more. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do it, guys, because so I know I'm doing a very terrible job of like explaining why I do what I do. But what happens is I hear something or learn something, and then I'm like, great, I accept that. I'm going to do that. And then I just like wipe it. I've already made the decision, Narelle. I've already done it. I've already got the liver. Like, I don't need to remember why I'm doing that. But it's very difficult then for me to help other people understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I kind of got there when I sort of felt like it was kind of everything. But I remember a little bit more. Go listen to that podcast, guys, because if you really do want to support, if you want your dogs to have a career as a therapy dog, you don't want to this isn't just a fad because you've seen it in the media or whatever, and you're just going to want to take your dog to work or whatever. If you want an actual career out of these dogs, Oliver, my border collie, has been a therapy dog for 8 years. Nala's been a therapy dog for 3 years. So these dogs have careers ahead of them. So if we look after them properly, we have to look after them properly. Otherwise, we're going to have a breakdown in their bodies, a breakdown in their minds, and, burnout and stress management and things like that. All of this stuff contributes to those things. So the more that we can look at the whole dog, the whole picture, things like stamina are so important. I just had Nala looked at by a physio to be about maybe 2 months ago now, because I just noticed her back end's a bit, she sits like a frog and stuff. And I was like, I've got to do something about this, And then I was like, just never getting around to it. And I finally got around to it. And what is really driving me, I know what it's like to have an older lab who is fit, because he is having a great time every single day. He's having a great time. And I want that for her. And the way she is at the moment, I'm like, what are you going to look like when you're 12 and a half? Because I don't reckon it's going to be like him. And the stamina aspect of, she's a dog I take into the clinic 2 days a week, take my border collie once a week. And she's doing that work there. I actually think she could have more stamina. Like, I actually think she's only young, and I actually think that building her up, I need to do something about, what's that called? It's like that conditioning. Do some conditioning with her. And you know what? After like 2 months of doing her little platform exercises and having her massages and whatever, blah, 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 she's definitely changed her stamina. And I was like, and I was like, she's always been who she is. She didn't lose stamina. Okay. She wasn't like, I didn't see a loss in her stamina. She's always been who she is. But I was like, I wonder what conditioning would actually really do for her. Definitely. So she's up and about more, because therapy dogs sleep a lot, like, and we don't want them running like all day. But she's I reckon she's got more energy. Like, I reckon it's made a big difference for her to do that. But if you're going to be conditioning your dogs, so like, that's specific exercises that she's doing to support her joints, muscles around her joints and stuff. But if you're going to be doing that, I think you should back it up with A, diet.
Yeah.
B, this other stuff that we can do. So we mentioned Antinol a few times, things like collagen, stuff like that. But also this beef liver, which for the stamina, like, it's because it was all about like their healthy blood and stuff as well, wasn't it, Narelle?
Yeah. So, because it's rich in all the B vitamins, it's great for stress-prone dogs in terms of supporting the nervous system that way. But yeah, for good blood health and cellular health. So
yeah,
yep, lots of areas.
So good. So good. So that's a lot of information.
Yeah, I feel like I've been babbling for an hour and a half. Sorry.
So, no, it's been fantastic. Amazing. I always listen to our podcast back after we publish them, and I learn so much. And I'm like, I was there. But I always, so this is a little tip for people if you're listening. What I was going to say is, you might need to listen to this one more than once, especially if you've been listening, driving in your car, and you're thinking like, oh, yeah, okay. But to actually action these ideas, I think you're going to have to listen again when you've got a pen and paper or something. Because if we've talked about anything that's relevant for your dogs, listeners, get onto it, and you'll do it sooner rather than later. Because when you leave it, like I did with the physio, left it, just didn't get it done. And now I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
I should have done it 2 years ago, But anyway, better late than never.
Yeah. And if people have questions, like, I'm so available and, to answer customer inquiries, because people often get overwhelmed with, what supplement should they choose, even though we've discussed, quite a few today. They jump on the website and they're like, oh, do I get Gut Restore or Gut Protect? So all of those sort of things, just send an email to info@CanineCeuticals.com.au, and either myself or my colleague, Michelle, will get back to you with the information you need. If you've got a dog with something a bit more full on going on health-wise, you can book a consultation through our website as well. So there's 2 levels of consultation available. So that can be really helpful for more personalized and targeted treatment advice.
Should people go that way if so for example, like more obviously more severe stuff, but if people have got dogs on other medications or like complex medical conditions or stuff, are they people that should probably actually like book a consult and have some time and really talk through their dog's treatment plan?
Absolutely, because, you know, I can't give safe advice if I don't have a full health history and sort of understand where the dog's at now with other medications, other supplements, you know, diagnosed conditions. So those absolutely need a consult. It just depends on, you know, how much is involved, whether they'd book a standard or a comprehensive, but most chronic conditions need a comprehensive consult to really do it justice and do the dog justice. But yeah, absolutely jump on the website for that.
And if these are things, like I've said a few times, but if these are things that, if your therapy dog has got bad breath, if your therapy dog is doing smelly farts, if your therapy dog is doing all these things that we've talked about, they're licking and, you know, all this sort of stuff, you need to sort it out. It will be impacting your work, and you might not know any different because your dog's always been like that. So maybe you've not worked with a dog that's not doing that. And I'll tell you right now, it's very different. So just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it should be that way. They're things that we can't, you know, like you've got to manage your dog. You've got to manage your own dog. But I really encourage people to understand that these things, they're not just normal. And I think a lot of dog owners think that they are. I think they just think that's just the dog, you know, the dog's just like that. The dog just stinks, that kind of thing. They're actually not normal. So, let this be your, you know, information overload to, activate you to go, okay, so maybe I should be trying something about this dog's breath or something, because clients are saying, you stink, dog. Like, and maybe they're saying that and laughing it off, but I can guarantee you it'll be impacting people's ability to really connect with the dog, because it impacts how much they want to, interact and be close with them and things like that.
Yeah, it's a really good point that people tend to accept something as normal that's not, well, it might be normal, but it's not, it shouldn't be that way. So the other thing, if people are curious about changing their dog's diet, but again, just don't know where to start, that's where a consult would be hugely beneficial, because I can hold their hand and sort of work with them to gradually implement those changes and like tweaking, because everything needs to be tweaked as you go.
Yes.
But within a consultation, that's part of it, you know, over months and months, you know, we can be tweaking and going back and forwards to figure out the best approach.
Oh, please do that. Like, if you've never looked at your dog's diet before, please do that. You know, I know it's like become a bit of a joke because we're going on and on and on about it, but there's a reason for that. Like, there is actually a reason for that. And if you want your dog to live a long time, that's what you got to do. That's what you're going to have to do. And I always tell myself, because mate, if you could see the money that goes into these dogs, like, you know, and I do it too. Like, every time I buy, because I buy stuff in bulk, and I buy things and I'm like, oh my God, these dogs, like, oh my God. Same with the horses, bloody horses. Oh my God. My horses are therapy horses as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Especially the Brumbies they're very cool for it. They're very, very cool for it. Anyway, I always just tell myself, but they are working, you know, they're working. So they should be getting paid. And the way to pay them is to make them comfortable and happy and healthy and all those things. So if you guys are struggling.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned we want our dogs to live a long life, but more importantly, we want them to have a high quality, you know, health for that long life. And it's like in the human space, people accept or just believe that, you know, all the diseases of old age are just inevitable, but it's not. You know, there's so much we can do to prevent chronic disease development in ourselves and our dogs, that you've got to start somewhere, and the earlier you start, the better in terms of quality of life.
And if anyone's, you know, not sure about like how to make decisions about therapy dogs and feeding stuff, I feed mine raw, and I'm always going to. I don't work with people with, you know, really bad immunocompromised health conditions, things like that. But I have it in my consent form. These dogs are raw fed, there may be a risk. I need to talk to someone who knows more about it, about what risks there actually are, because I'm finding it hard to get a straight answer. But we've got it in our consent forms, guys. So my dogs are fed raw. So that helps anybody make a decision about what they want to do. So be it. But everyone's got to do what's right. You've got to do what's right for you, your dog, and we're also taking into account our communities. So, I don't go visiting nursing homes with my dogs. And, the people that are living in the residents in those homes are immunocompromised. So, we've all got to make decisions based on what we can do. But if you're going to not being able to feed a raw food diet doesn't mean you can't feed a good diet. So go and talk to Narelle, do some consultations and work together. And now we've had this chat as well, Narelle. So you've got a bit more of an understanding as well about what we're trying to do with our dogs and what kind of support they need. Or I really believe that they need if we're going to, be asking them to do the job that they're doing. These are the things that I think we need to do to make sure that the dog's being considered throughout that, because we're working them. We are working them. As much as it's a lovely idea, therapy dogs is a lovely idea, those dogs are working. So when they get to work, they're working.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think we've given your listeners plenty of information. So
exciting. Thank you so much. It's been fascinating.
It's been great to chat.
If we'll put obviously details up, but the website's CanineCeuticals.
Yep.
CanineCeuticals.
Correct.
.com.au.
Yep.
I can vouch for Narelle will reply to emails. I've emailed her several times about products and how do you choose them, and I can't remember blah blah blah. Yep. So I can vouch for that. She will reply to your emails. Do you have anything coming up? Are you doing any workshops? Or are you just too busy? What are you doing?
I've had lots of requests for seminars and workshops, but I just haven't had the time to content creation. Like it's
hard,
It is hard. Like I can't even get a podcast out, let alone create a seminar.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I will be at the Sydney Dog Lovers Show, the Melbourne Dog Lovers Show, and the Melbourne Vet Expo later in the year. So if anyone wants to go to the Dog Lovers shows, they can have a chat with me there.
All of our Sydney and Melbourne teams, you can get down there and have a look, go and catch up with Narelle. What was the podcast again? The name? Natural Health for People and Pets?
Yep, that's it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Narelle, for your time.
Thanks,
awesome.
Sam.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're interested in studying with Therapy Dogs Australia, or you have a few more questions before deciding, please get in touch with us by emailing courses@therapydog.com.au or visiting our website at www.therapydog.com.au for more information and FAQs.